Look, I think I'm six. They were 6.
I want to. Okay, thank you for joining us this afternoon for the Minot Area Chamber EDC Government Affairs Committee candidate forum for the Minot Public School Board. This is our third and final candidate forum ahead of the June 2024 primary. My name is Mark Lyman. I am an employee of the Minot Area Chamber EDC and also a member of the MACEDC Government Affairs Committee and will be the moderator for this forum. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to those who are here in person. And of course, thanks to our candidates for being here as well. If you're watching live online or if you're here in person, you'd like to propose a question to be asked of all the candidates tonight, please feel free to drop that question in the comment section and we will do our best to review those and ask them if possible. We are scheduled to go until 5:30 today. We're hoping to stick to that to be respectful of the time that the candidates have allowed. We do have 7 candidates running for 3 open seats on the Minot Public School Board. One of our candidates is an incumbent, 6 are challengers. In alphabetical order, they are as follows: Kaylee Borquin, John Carey, Mike Gessner, Lacey Laudenschlager, Scott Lauser, and Derek Trudell. Bill Ehrman couldn't be with us tonight. I will have a statement that I will read in Bill's words here in just a few minutes. A few quick ground rules for this afternoon's forum. We are asking that the candidates not address each other with their responses, but they address me as a moderator or the audience that's here. Please stay focused on the question being asked. In light of a great turnout, we're glad that so many of you could be here in person. We would like to ask you to give your responses in 30 seconds to a minute. So keep them brief if possible. And I'll do my best to time those responses and keep us honest to that. Thanks to the candidates again for choosing to participate in this forum. This will allow voters an opportunity to get to know you and your various positions on the many issues. As well, thank you to the City of Minot for allowing us use of City Hall and the council chambers here to present our forums this week. So let's get to know our candidates. Would each of you please take 1 minute or less to introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for the Minot Public School Board. We're going to start with you, Kaylee.
Thank you. I first want to say thank you to the Chamber EDC for hosting us tonight. Thank you to Mark for moderating. Thank you to everyone who showed up today or is watching online, taking time out of your day to get to know your candidates. And thank you to everyone sitting up here today. Having engaged people leads to a stronger community. I'm Kaylee Borquin. I've lived in Minot my whole life. I graduated from Minot High in 2011 and Minot State University in 2015. There's a lot of change happening this year with a new high school, new middle school, and 2 school closures. I understand where our children are coming from. I was attending Jefferson Elementary when they closed their school when I was only in the 4th grade. So I understand a lot of the anxieties that our children are currently facing. Fast forward to today, I've been in the financial industry for the last 13 years. My husband and I both work full-time, and we have 2 children about to embark on their journey with the Minot Public School System in the next few years. I believe that parent involvement is important, and the parent aspect is crucial to a well-rounded board. School boards need to be transparent, willing to put in the work, and engaged with their community. Tough decisions are still ahead of us, and I believe that with my background and my leadership skills, I'll be the perfect match for the school board.
Hi, my name is John Carey. I was born and raised in northeastern Pennsylvania, in a small town, and I'm a transplant here. I graduated from a public school, Lackawanna Trail Junior Senior High, and after I graduated, I enlisted in the Air Force. I spent the next 23 years going wherever the Air Force sent me, and while I was in the Air Force, I took the opportunity to take advantage of their education opportunities, and I earned an associate's in applied science and electronic systems technology, and I earned a bachelor's in technical management. I was lucky enough to PCS to Minot Air Force Base in 2000, and ever since I felt like this community was the best fit for me. I'm running for the school board because I haven't been engaged enough as a citizen, and I'm a concerned citizen of the direction and where we're going. And so I decided that if I could step out of my comfort zone, I might be able to help and make a difference. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Mike Gessner, please.
Mike Gessner. I've been a resident of Minot since 1956. I graduated from Minot High School. I graduated from Minot State. I have taught here for 47 years. I've been a member of MEA for more than 40 years. I've been on MEA's bargaining for a number of sessions. I was a past president of MEA, that's the Minot Education Association. I did school improvement for our school district. I did the data analysis. We can show growth if we're all working on the same goal. One of those was to improve our reading skills at the high school level, and it was a matter of having reading break and everybody bringing something there and doing their diligence. I was on the TFFR board, that's our Teacher Fund for Retirement board, for 13 years. I was the president for 11. I was on the State Investment Board. I've had those things. Well, I've done all of those things, and in 2020, I decided to run for the board. What's my goal? To aid in the growth of this community by supporting our administration, our instructors, and all other employees to meet this goal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, you're next.
Hi, I'm Lacey.
Please make sure you turn on your microphone. Sorry about that. Yep.
Sorry. Here we go. Hi, I'm Lacey Laudenschlager. First of all, I'd like to thank Mark and the Chamber for organizing this forum. Community engagement is crucial to the success of our district, and I'm so happy to be here to help inspire more of that. I know that our district will thrive with more participation, more people asking questions and having conversations. I'd also like to quickly thank my husband and children for supporting my school board campaign. I've been putting a tremendous amount of time and effort into this in order to be the most informed and be as ready as possible to take on this important role. I'm currently a realtor at Signal Realty and have been there for the last 10 years. Prior to that, I taught foreign language for Minot Catholic schools and was a stay-at-home mom for a few years. My husband Eric and I have 5 children, 4 of which currently attend Minot Public. They're at Jim Hill. I've got 2 at Jim Hill and 2 at Washington. They are third-generation Minot Public School students. Their last name is Stevick, just so there's no confusion there. I grew up in Sawyer, North Dakota. My mom taught K-12 music education. I attended Minot State. I was on the women's basketball team and started working toward my education degree in history and Spanish. I spent 2 years at MSU and finished college as a graduate of the University of North Dakota. I've held numerous leadership positions and have been involved in various school and community organizations for almost my entire life. School board is something that has been on my radar for about 10 years now, but I haven't felt like I was ready to take on the commitment until now. In order to stay engaged, I served on several district and school committees throughout the last 10 years. I worked on the 3 bond issues and realignment committees. I've been a volunteer coach and I've helped in classrooms. I will be honest, some of the decisions and the way that some things have been handled have been very disappointing to me. And that's a hard thing to say in a public forum, but in the spirit of transparency, I think it has to be said. A couple of things that come to mind were the way the committees were structured for the superintendent search. The district had sent out an email asking for parent volunteers to serve on the parent committee that they said would have around 10 people on. When it came time for the interviews, there
Go
were
ahead and wrap it up. You're at 2 minutes.
there were 6
Lacey.
people on the committee. That was disappointing. Secondly, just the way the closure of the 2 schools was handled. Not that I disagree with either one of these decisions, but just mostly disappointed in the way they were done. And that's ultimately why I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott Lauser.
Well, thank you, Mark, and as a former board member, I'm assuming you're going to have at least as much fun at this forum as we are. I'm Scott Lauser, and the why I'm running begins and ends with my children. My son Garrett graduated Minot High School and is now a junior at Arizona State University. My daughter Cameron is at Jim Hill, 6th grader at Jim Hill, and my daughter Kendall is a 3rd grader at Edison. I too am a product of Minot High School. I graduated Minot High in 1989. I've stayed involved through volunteering, whether it be hosting our class reunions, working at extracurricular activities, being a fan of all the teams and activities that we have in Minot, and speaking in classrooms, whether it be on finance or real estate. I'm a 2-time graduate of Minot State, and I've been a realtor in Minot for 27 years. I own and operate offices in Minot, Grand Forks, Bismarck, and Fargo. And about 5 years ago, through that involvement in the industry, I was approached by Cognizant to sell their building, which fulfilled the vision that I had that is now going to be Minot North High School. I've served as a legislator in District 5, which is Southwest Minot, since 2011. I bring that up because I believe the voters need to know about the ideological leanings of all candidates at the local level, and I will not hide from the fact that I'm a Republican serving in Bismarck. While that will not be displayed on the ballot, in June, I would ask the voters to ask all candidates about their ideology and their vision before the election. I look forward to providing substantive answers in this forum. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek Trudeau.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me and the other candidates to this forum. Scott had mentioned about our ideologies. This is a nonpartisan election, and as a federal employee, I'm prohibited from participating from the Hatch Act, so I'm not going to answer anything that would have to do with politics. So my wife Betsy's here today with me. I'm guessing she's probably not the only undecided voter in the room. Her and I have 4 kids, Reagan, Grant, Harrison, and Eisenhower. I think that probably says a lot about who I am. I decided to run for the school board because I believe my background and experience can help. To make good decisions, we have to have experience and context. I have experience in both the private and public sector. I've spent the last 20 years working for the state and working for the federal government. 17 of that, I've worked for the Secret Service as a special agent and with Homeland Security here as the resident agent in charge. I know how the decisions of the government impact the government employees. Right? Elected people, their decisions have a direct impact on the workforce. I also know that the decisions of the government have an impact on private business. And so when we're making decisions, it's important to keep all of that in context. Those decisions are a lot like investigating crimes. We just gather facts. We have to gather as many facts as possible so that we can make a well-rounded decision, because if you only look at things from your point of view, you're only going to get that point of view. So I think as a school board member, having that experience, having that ability, and also
Please wrap up. You're at almost 2 minutes.
also being able to separate my decisions based off of logic and fact as opposed to emotion. So I think with that as my background, my experience, that's why I decided to run for the school board, because I think it can help.
Okay, thank you, Derek. And I have to apologize right off the start. Kaylee, your microphone wasn't working as great, so we'd like you to, I apologize, redo yourself. I know, throwing you a curveball right off the bat, but we want to make sure people get a chance to hear you. So make sure that the red button is on when you push it down, and we'll give you another shot. Sorry for the technical difficulty.
All right, I'll do my whole spiel again, where I thank the Chamber EDC for hosting us tonight. Thank you to Mark for being our moderator. Thank you for everyone in attendance and watching online, taking time out of your day to get to know your candidates. And thank you to everyone sitting up here with me today. Engaged people leads to a stronger community. My name's Kaylee Borquin. I'm a lifelong resident of Minot. I graduated Minot High in 2011 and MSU in 2015. There's a lot of changes happening this upcoming year. We have a new high school, a new middle school, and we've had 2 school closures. And I want you to know that I get it. I was attending Jefferson Elementary when they decided to close the doors when I was in the 4th grade. So I have a lot of those same anxieties that our children are facing right now about moving into the next class and not having that group of friends you've maybe had since kindergarten. But thankfully, our children are resilient and they're flexible, and they'll be able to forge a new path forward. Fast forward to today, I've been in the financial industry for the last 13 years. My husband and I both work full-time, and we have 2 kids who are about to embark on their journey within Minot Public Schools over the next few years. School boards need to be transparent, people need to be willing to put in the work, and they need to be engaged with their community. Parent involvement is so important, and the parent aspect is crucial in making a well-rounded school board. Tough decisions are still ahead, but I believe that with my background in leadership skills, I have what it takes to be a successful school board member. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee, and thank you for understanding. I do have a couple of comments here, a couple of paragraphs to read from Bill Ehrman. So if someone would like to time me that I hit the 1 minute mark. Bill states, my name is Bill Ehrman. I was raised on a farm outside of Sawyer and graduated from Sawyer High School. I then attended Minot State University, graduated with a major in English education and a minor in history education. I did my student teaching at Jim Hill Middle School and went on to teach there for 32 years, both language arts and U.S. history. During my time with the Minot Public School District, I coached baseball, football, basketball, volleyball, and most recently fast pitch softball. I retired from teaching in the summer of 2023, and I'm currently employed as a construction control inspector with the Indian Health Service. My 32 years of teaching in MPS were some of the best years of my life. I have seen many changes in the district over the years, and I'm excited for the challenges and opportunities that the district faces with the opening of Minot North High School and Central Middle School. There's no substitute for experience, and my years of collaborating with administration, teachers, students, parents, and paraprofessionals make me well qualified to represent the people of Minot on the Minot Public School Board. I've also worked extensively with the writing of the North Dakota State Education Standards and Assessments, the Northern Plains Writing Project as well as with NAEP, known as the Nation's Report Card. While my teaching career has come to a close, education in general, and specifically MPS, remains dear to me, and I feel that I still have a lot to offer my community. My wife Amy and I have two daughters who attended MPS schools from kindergarten through graduation, just like their mother. My daughter Madison's awesome experiences in MPS led her to a career in education, and she's currently a teacher at Jim Hill Middle School. My daughter Riley's MPS education greatly prepared her to continue on with her dream, as she's currently in grad school pursuing her PhD in physiology. My daughters are among the thousands who leave MHS and soon MNHS, well prepared to face the challenges of the worlds of work, technical training, or continuing education. I have two grandsons who will someday wear the maroon and gold or blue and silver, and I want to be part of ensuring that MPS will continue to offer them the best educational opportunities possible. For 32 years, next to my family, this school district, the students, and the teachers were the most important things in my life. Though I'm no longer in the classroom, I still have a strong love for this district. My experience, knowledge, communication skills, and relations with administrators, teachers, students, and parents will make me an extremely well-qualified candidate for this position, and I look forward to representing you on the Minot Public School Board. So thank you for your patience in getting through our introductions. We want to start off with our first question. We're going to start with John. John, you get to kick us off, and we will go down the line. So John, if elected, what would your top 2 or 3 priorities be as a school board member? If elected, what would your top 2 or 3 priorities be as a school board member?
Well, I think the top priority is the school budget. We have to figure out a way to do things better. I was going through some of the older school budget because I'm a data person. I too work for the federal government. I'm an employee out there. And data, I analyze data, I troubleshoot issues, and I solve problems. That's what I do for the federal government. And so when I look at the previous budgets and I see, it seemed like we were in deficit spending. And when I just went back 4 years, and again, this is what the data tells me. The data's telling me that in 4 years, we've been $14.6 million in the hole. That's just what the data tells me. Now, somebody could dispute that and bring that up, and I'd welcome that. So I think the first thing is to get the budgeting control, because you can't do all the things that you want to do as a district if your fiscal house is not in order. The second thing is my support for the teachers. I remember about 15 people in my life that had a great influence on me, and 5 of them were teachers. We need to take care of the teachers. We need to make sure that they have a safe work environment. We need to take care of them pay-wise, and we need to, and not just the teachers, the paraprofessionals, and we can only do that if we get our fiscal house in order. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Mike Gessner, you're next. Same question. If elected, what would your top 2 or 3 priorities be as a school board member?
My top 2 or 3, number 1 would be to support the administration and to support the personnel in the opening of the new schools, coming out of COVID, and these last couple of years, trying to get up to speed again with our educational needs and matching up with some state standards. This would be one of my top priorities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question.
I have a few. Number 1, the students are number 1 on my list, but underneath that, I think we really need to focus on communication in the district on a public level, our Facebook page, our website, the communication from the district, from the top to the stakeholders, to the teachers. I think we need more open and honest communication. I think our communication needs to be consistent, and I think it needs to be transparent. I also think we need to be concerned with teacher retention and morale, which ultimately helps the students. And we need to support them, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later down the road here. And of course, the budget. I agree with John, we absolutely have to get that under control. We've been passing deficit budgets for the last 7 years, so he's probably not wrong on his $14 million. We can't continue to raise taxes and pass deficit budgets.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott Lauser, same question. If elected, what would your top 2 or 3 priorities be as a school board member?
Thank you, Mark. And like Lacey, I have a handful, a great educational experience for everybody, balancing the budget, improving test scores, a permanent reduction in property taxes, a smooth integration for Minot High North, and the transition for a new superintendent and assistant superintendent, and potentially a majority of members on this board. And I also would address transparency and communication, which I hope we get to. Specifically on the budget and property taxes, the budget can be fixed. We are maxed out. We're about 1.5 mils short of maxing out on our ability to tax our citizens. I have a proposal for that. And regarding property taxes, I have drafted a bill to introduce next session that would have the legislature paying the 60 mils that are mandated on everybody's property taxes, which, if that were to pass, would be about a 43% reduction on the school mill levy portion of your property taxes, with a cost of about $680 million per biennium, that I believe is something that can be sustained by the legislature.
Okay, thank you. Scott, Derek, same question, please.
I think the number one priority has to be the students and the kids. It's the reason we have a school, is to educate our kids. So we have to provide a safe learning environment, and then to provide that safe learning environment, we have to have good teachers and we have to have good staff. They have to be supported. They have to be compensated fairly, which you can't do either of those without having money. So we have to have our budget in order. I don't think it's a really complicated system. Take care of the kids, take care of the teachers, and it's going to take money. So we have to be fiscally responsible.
Okay, thank you, Derek. And Kaylee, please finish us off on this first question.
Thank you. My top 3 priorities would be to attract teachers with a competitive pay and benefit package. We want to keep them here instead of, possibly a surrounding district, Nedros, Surrey, South Prairie, taking our teachers to help create that safe and productive environment for our children. A second priority is communication. That may include implementing a public information officer. We need help within our district from the top down on communication. We have a lot of changes coming up. People yearn for communication, and that's going to help create a little bit less chaos come August when everybody is maybe in a different classroom or a different school. That also includes the website. Our website has a lot of information on it, but it's not very user-friendly. So we need to really be able to leverage that information so that we can better utilize it. And my last priority would be CTE classes. MPS does a great job at keeping current with the trends and the community needs and keeping our CTE classes relevant. It really helps our students be prepared to enter the workforce, which in turn helps our community and the state as a whole. It also keeps students engaged. Not everybody aspires to go to college after graduating high school, so having those CTE classes in place really gets kids to keep coming to school because they see another path for them in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. And I would point out that Bill Ehrman is responding on Facebook, so for those of you who want to hear Bill's responses, he is online with his comments. Let's move on to the second question. We start this one with Mike Gessner. Mike, how would you balance the needs and the wants of the many various groups that make up a public school, including but not limited to teachers, staff, administrators, taxpayers, parents, and of course, the students.
I believe we need to follow what we're currently doing. Yes, we have expended an excess amount of money, and we are trying to get back in balance. At the same time, we're trying to provide an education to our public's children. The education is to be essentially free. We know that we as taxpayers, it doesn't make it free, but it's not costing an extra amount when we send these kids there. What's our school districts about? It's to grow our community and educate our citizens so that they can become successful contributors to society. We are trying to meet our society's needs and wants. And again, as my goal is to aid in the growth of this community by supporting our administration and instructors and all of our employees to meet this goal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question. How would you balance the needs and the wants of the many various groups that make up a public school?
Well, we need to prioritize. We can't always have it all, right? So number one, like I said, my top priority is, of course, the students. So whatever's best for the students is priority number one. We go with our needs, of course, first. What impacts them the most, followed by our wants. The wants are going to have to be leftovers if there's, enough room in the budget, for example, maybe then we can go with some wants. But for right now, we need to prioritize, we need to make tough decisions, and ultimately, we need to do what's best for the kids.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott, same question.
Well, it's difficult to provide for the wants if you are funding your operational expenses out of the savings account. We are depleting the checking account. We're taking money out of the savings account to fund operations, and that's not going to leave a lot of room for wants. So we need to focus on the needs. About 85 to 86% of our budget is personnel. That does not just include salaries. That's health insurance, that's retirement. The state requires 24.5% of salaries to go towards TFFR. The last cycle, we negotiated an additional 2 points from the employer, which is the taxpayer, to cover for the employee's retirement in year one, and an additional 2 points in year two. And we're budgeting for a 7% increase in health insurance costs on what I think is a very good health insurance plan. And we gave a 1.7 and a 1.7% pay raise. That amounted to about an $8 million increase from the prior budget. So much of our budget is people. That's not going to leave a lot of room for wants. And that's a 2-year commitment. So we're not going to have those negotiations again until next spring. For now, the wants are going to have to be put on hold, and we have to cover our needs.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek, same question. How would you balance the needs and the wants of the many various groups that make up a public school?
Kind of goes along with the last question. We have to provide an education. We have to provide a safe environment for the kids. And we have to balance that with paying the employees. They have to be compensated fairly. After that, things get prioritized. But not, I love sports. I love football. I love basketball. But that doesn't come before educating our kids. And if we only have so much money, so if the money's gone, all those other extracurricular things, they go away. So we have to maintain our budget and be responsible.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee, same question.
Can you repeat the question for me, Mark?
For sure. How would you balance the needs and the wants of the many various groups that make up a public school, including but not limited to teachers, staff, administrators, taxpayers, parents, and students?
So the first thing the school board would need to do is seek out engagement from all parties and not just assume that we know what these needs and wants are. We really need to have everyone involved at the table talking about what's important to them. We also need to keep in mind what's the purpose of the public education system, and that's to educate our children in a safe environment with qualified teachers. We need to prioritize what can be implemented now versus later, and really balance how we can keep improving the students' education without increasing spending and being innovative with our dollars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. John, finish us off on this question, please.
So first of all, I think the relationship between the school board and all these factions is, in my opinion, is strained. It's strained with the taxpayers because the taxpayers feel like they're tapped out. It's strained with teachers and parents because they got blindsided with the closing of these two schools. The administrators, they're strained because they're trying to figure out ways to make us leaner and cut the budget. And so I think the main thing that we have to do as a school board is we have to effectively communicate and be transparent in everything we do. We have to earn the taxpayers' trust back. That's what we have to do. We have to show the teachers that we care about what they do. They're in the trenches every day. They're looking for support from their administrators. A lot of times they take work home with them. And so we have to show them that we understand that and that we will do what we need to do to help. And as far as the administrator goes, those are the experts. Those are the ones that are going to drive the train to help us get within our budget window that we need to be in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Next question, this will start with Lacey on this one. Lacey, what specific policies or decisions that have been made in the last year or two by the school board would you change, and which ones do you support? So what specific policies or decisions that have been made in the last year or two by the school board would you change, and which specific ones would you have supported?
A couple of things that come to mind. The one I touched on briefly in my introduction was the closure of McKinley and Bell, which seemed to come out of nowhere. We come back to school after Christmas, and pretty soon we hear that we're closing two schools. All of a sudden, we have, a projected $6+ million deficit going into next year, and this is new news somehow. So I would have, in hindsight now, we know the result. We've got to go forward with it. I would have changed the process. I just don't feel like the way that was handled was the right way. The people in those two school districts felt blindsided, and they should have. And then we gave them an opportunity to speak, but I think we all know what the outcome was going to be anyway. So it was kind of like, tell us what you think, but we're going to close them anyway. And the second thing would be the budgets. We are continuously passing deficit budgets. I watched the meetings from last fall. I don't think there was a single question asked in 3 readings of the budget. We passed, I think it was like a $2.3 million deficit, and not a single board member asked a question. We need to be asking questions. We need to be digging enough to even know what questions to ask, and we need to be doing better. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott Lauser, same question. What specific policies or decisions that have been made in the last year or two by the school board would you change, and which ones do you support?
Well, Mark, there's one I would change that I've noticed in the last couple of years, and that's the ability for the public to come and speak at a board meeting. I'd requested to speak at a board meeting as the process for hiring the superintendent was being deliberated, and I had to make a request to get on the agenda. During those budget hearings that Lacey had mentioned, there were a couple people that spoke at least at the second meeting, and they were given 3 minutes, and there were ground rules. And I understand why that is, because it's possible that those meetings can go off the rails and get out of control. That doesn't typically happen in Minot, and I think we need that citizen engagement. And from a standpoint of running a meeting and chairing a committee in the legislature, we have that give and take. Somebody can come in and testify, and then the legislators can ask questions of those that are testifying, and you get a better outcome when doing that as opposed to just listening and giving a response the next day. So that's one thing I would absolutely change going forward, is have the ability for people to come in and speak at board meetings. As far as something that I support, I actually like the process of hiring the superintendent and the result of that process, which also resulted in something I mentioned earlier, is hiring his replacement from within the system with a highly qualified assistant superintendent in Todd Kaler.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek Trudell, same question.
A couple of things I would change are some of the format with the meetings. I understand there has to be a formal process to it. One of the things that I went to the McKinley meeting, and I didn't like how the public were able to ask questions, but they said, you're not going to get an answer. We'll provide an answer later. We should have dialogue. I think we should also look at opportunities to have meetings and kind of what Scott said in a different format. I think a lot of people have a lot of good things to say, but to think that you have to walk up to the dais and then get stared at by people up there staring down at you, it's intimidating. Provide a format where we can engage and have a conversation that's less intimidating. The other thing, we want people to engage. Well, let's not have the meetings at 4 p.m. Let's have them sometime in the evenings when people can come to them. I think that would get people to more of them. The one thing I guess that they've done that I support and I think was a good idea was hiring the superintendent. And I'm not just saying that because he's my neighbor. I think it was a good hire.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee, same question.
Thank you. I support the addition of the high school and the middle school. Having this model is ultimately going to get kids in better places. They're not going to be so overcrowded. They're going to have teachers that are able to focus on them. And this will help kids from falling through the cracks and increase academic achievement. I would maybe change the process of how the schools were closed. I agree with some things that have already been said. Having the meetings at Bell and McKinley at a later date or at a later time during the day, that was a step in the right direction, but we need to do that all the time. We should have more opportunity for parents, teachers, whoever, to get in front of us and be able to tell you what's important to them, what their opinions are on certain decisions. We just need to when they had the meeting to close those two schools, I did like that they had more infographics up on the screen. They really tried to show you, what steps were taken to make the decisions, but sometimes we just have to go a step further. And I would agree that that is a night and day difference from the hiring of the superintendent. I really appreciated that process, being able to watch those, being able to see the presentations. So those are the policies that I would go with.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
Mark.
you, Kaylee. John, same question. What specific policies or decisions that have been made in the last year or two by the school board would you change, and which ones do you support?
I think the main one is the closing of Bell and McKinley. I watched a friend of mine on the September school board meeting. He brought it up. He said that this budget is going to lead us down the path to closing 2 schools. And this was in September. In 2017, Scott Malm, he did an interview, and he said, point blank, he said, look, if we don't get our fiscal house in order, in the future years, we're going to have to cut staff and close schools. Welcome to the future. So I think it was a bit short-sighted. I think for us to just sit there and say that, well, we're running a deficit, we got to close down these schools. There are templates out there. If you think Minot Public School is the only school that hasn't had deficit problems, we're not. There are plenty of templates out there and solutions to get people out, or to get school districts out of debt while still not sacrificing the quality of care, cutting staff, or closing schools. That was the big one for me, and that's what really got me engaged in this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Mike Gessner, finish us off on this question, please.
What's the question again exactly?
Yep, what specific policies or decisions that have been made in the last year or two by the school board would you change, and which ones do you support?
Obviously, I supported all of the things that I supported, which was the closing of the buildings. I've supported our budget. I would say that our board, if anything, needs to be more vocal. There needs to be more asking of questions, throwing statements out. Yes, I have supported each one of those. Was it an easy task? No, it's something that we need to do. But also, I've heard our board talk about we need to give our instructors more pay. So if we talk about one of these schools, each of them have 11 students. Was the average that we were told that was going to be there for, that lived in that district. So 11 students, and now in the same breath, we're talking about when we get to 18 or 19 students in a first grade class, should we hire a second teacher? Well, each teacher is, by the time you pay the teacher on an average and pay benefits, is $100,000. And so we are, yes, we talk out of one side of our mouth here at the table, we should hire more, we should do more for the teachers, and absolutely we need to. We are trying to match our area schools. What do we have for area? We have South Prairie, we have Delac Burlington, we've got Nedrose, Max, Granville, Towner, we got our Redeemers, we've got all of these schools which are taking teachers. We don't have an extra pool to work with. So we try to support them as best as we can to keep this. And one of the things that's really helped us out is,
You're almost at 2 minutes.
one of the things that's really helped us out, we've gone from a rule of 85 to a rule of 90, which means that they have to teach another 5 years. But what that means is that we have to pay our highest paid teachers another 5 years. And we don't have a pool to select from young beginning teachers. So I think what we've done, and I have voted that way because I can't say that, yes, I think we've done the right thing for this time.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We've got a new question to start us off with. This one's a little bit more futuristic and a little bit more, you've got a magic wand, okay? So if money weren't a deciding factor, which trust me, I've got the second question where money is a deciding factor, but on this question alone, if money weren't a deciding factor, what new program, effort, class, or school-related item would you want to see as part of the Minot Public School education? Scott, we'll start with you. If money weren't a deciding factor, what new program, effort, class, or school-related item would you want to see as part of Minot Public School education?
Well, it's an interesting question because it's unattainable. If money is not an object, what would we do? We've had the question of free lunch. The free lunch bill in the legislature last year was proposed for every kid in the state. The free lunch was $89.5 million. What passed was up to $6 million for anybody that qualified at 200% of the federal income, federal poverty level for income or less. If money were no object, we would feed everybody, but that's not the case. I would also like to see smaller class sizes, but relating to some of the bigger school districts, we have a pretty good student-to-teacher ratio. If money were no object, we'd have more teachers for fewer students, a better ratio, and we'd feed everybody for free.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek, same question. If money weren't a deciding factor, what new program, effort, class, or school-related item would you want to see as part of the Minot Public School education?
I guess the money's no object. I mean, the sky's the limit. Teachers can set their salary, do whatever you want. While we're at it, let's put in an indoor football stadium and hockey rink. And I think the pools, put in a new pool too. Anything that they wanted would I guess would be my answer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Derek. Kaylee.
If money wasn't an issue, I would look at transportation, getting kids to and from school, busing around our district. I would look at free lunches for all students to remove that barrier so that we can help kids focus when they're in class. I'd look at after-school programs that all school so that parents who are working full-time don't have to worry about where their kid's going to be before they get off of work. And I'd agree that the better teacher-to-student ratio would be something I'd look at, and being able to hire support staff that gets full benefits. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. John Kerry, same question.
So if money wasn't an option, I think the first thing I would do is reopen McKinley. Because right now, a lot of the McKinley students are being pushed into Roosevelt, and Roosevelt is an old school. There's not a lot of room in there. I think that it's also, if money wasn't a question, I'd renovate all the older schools like Roosevelt, bring them up to snuff and up to code, maybe add extensions to them. And I'd also make sure that all the teachers and all the aides were properly supplied with everything they needed. Thank you.
Okay, Mike Gessner, same question.
One more time, I've got a short attention
That's
span,
okay.
obviously.
Me too. If money weren't a deciding factor, what new program, effort, class, or school-related item would you want to see as part of the Minot Public School education?
Myself, I would like to see more advanced courses where our population would be unlimited in that we would teach at 5, 8, 9, our AP courses. We're going to be in an interesting point when we open north that we're going to take some of our AP courses, some of our advanced, we're going to have to move some kids around. And of course, this would be the same as McKinley and the same as a Roosevelt. And we would be, smaller class size would be probably the best thing at the younger grades, yes.
Okay, and Lacey, same question.
I mean, what I wouldn't do if we had an unlimited budget, right? I heard a lot of great ideas. A lot of them were things that came to my mind also. Of course, I'd take care of the kids, make sure they're all fed. Free lunches would be wonderful. Transportation would be wonderful. It would be great if we could pay our teachers and our paras and our admin, you know, if they were the highest paid in the nation, that would be awesome. They deserve it. I also agree with Mr. Gessner. I would love to see more focus on the higher achieving kids. We have a great PACE and Journey program. I would love to see that expanded into the middle school and high school. I know we have AP courses and kids can take dual credit courses, but there's not really a focus on gifted education past elementary. What else? I'd love brand new buildings. I mean, it's an unlimited budget, right? So like Derek said, the sky's the limit. Those are just a few things, I guess, that come to my mind.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Moving on to a more realistic question where money is a deciding factor. What specific, this starts with you, Derek, what specific ideas or directions would you give today, since you can't go back in time? What ideas or specific direction would you give today to the administration on how to close the gap on the much-discussed multi-million-dollar divide between revenue and expenses?
Guess you hit me with the easy question there. I think you have to go back and you have to, if we're going to go back and look.
I'd like you not to go back and look. What would you do today to close the gap? Apologize.
To close the gap, part of the thing that's driving our gap is that our enrollment numbers are down. So we have to go and get the enrollment numbers back up. I think the new school in the realignment of the middle school is going to help that. So if we can get the enrollment numbers up, that's going to help to close the gap.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee, same question. Since money is a deciding factor, what ideas or directions would you give today to the administration and the board on how to close the gap on the much-discussed multi-million-dollar divide between revenue and expenses?
I would look at public education funding. It's a very complex animal. I would work with the legislature to see how we can improve that so that more funds can be sent into schools to help with basic education. I'd also look at how we can keep our schools updated, how we can keep our teachers paid correctly so that we have an environment where we want to be, where parents, families are moving to, where families want to stay so that we can keep increasing our enrollment and keep getting that per pupil dollars from the state.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. John Kerry.
I think the first thing I would do is, and if I was on the board, I would exercise the School District Code 141, and I would hire a budget consultant. I would spend a little money, hire a budget consultant. These are experts in how to trim budgets, to find savings. They have very innovative ideas. I think that would be money well spent. I also believe that there are things that we can do. Like I said, if we could reach out, do studies as a school board, and find out what, like I said, the templates are out there. What have other school districts done to get themselves into a near balanced budget? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Mike Gessner, same question. Since money is a deciding factor, what specific direction would you give the administration today on how to close the gap on our budget deficit?
I believe the administration has been working hard. We started with the McKinley. They came to the board and asked that we do those two items, and we did support those as a board. We need to look at the opening and the enrollment numbers becoming larger, and I think with the opening of the new school, with the opening, as was said, the opening of Central Campus as a new middle school, that this will be a much better environment for kids, and parents will be taking their kids. They'll be moving from one system to another. And hopefully in the following years, we'll open enrollment. We'll see what happens at the high school. There might be more things going on and more people are going to move into our district for what we are offering right now.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question.
So I think there are a number of ways that we can take a look at the budget, and I'm sure it's all over the place where there's spots that we can tighten that up. It has already been mentioned, but I do believe that open enrollment has really hurt our district. Right now, we have over 300 students that are currently open enrolling to schools, in the other schools in the area. South Prairie is a big one, Nedros, DLB are the three largest. And that's millions of dollars that are leaving the district. I do also agree that opening up a third middle school, I think that the current crowded middle schools are a deterrent for a lot of folks, and I think that is a big reason why they are leaving. I think with having a third middle school now and lightening the middle school load up, I think that will help. I think it will also help having 2 9 through 12 high schools. But yeah, open enrollment is probably the biggest factor, and I think we just need to take a look and ask those people, why are you leaving? We don't even ask them why they leave. There's a generic form that they can fill out on Power School, and a lot of them will say in-state transfer. Well, why? Is it the class sizes? Is it that we don't provide busing? What is the specific reason that you're leaving? And I think we need to reflect on that and try to make that better.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott Lauser, please finish us on this question.
Well,
What
I introduced,
what specific things would you give the administration to close the gap?
Introduced House Bill 1187 last year that passed, that allowed for school districts to use their signing bonuses for incentive to cross-train and take on new roles within the school district for the teachers that were there. We've mentioned open enrollment, but that school is going to be an attraction. We need to go back to open enrollment. We changed it because of Nedros. We're going to be able to attract a lot of students on the north end of town, the northwest part of town, with open enrollment. We have to explore that in this next cycle. I think we could put out an RFP. I don't know the length of the contract that we have with health insurance. This is something that we've done at the state where we have insurance providers compete for our business. I would imagine that could be a $500,000 to $1 million savings. And we need to go back to the Minot Air Force Base Board and ask them, when they committed to helping seal the parking lot at Minot High North a couple of years ago, that board committed to doing that. They recently declined that $2 million request from Minot Public. I know we're going back again. I think we should ask for 1.5, if not $1 million. Those students are going to be going to that school. The members of that board that made that commitment a couple of years ago are no longer on that board. And so we're dealing with some new people out at that board. And one other thing that I think we could explore that is being done in some other school districts is a public school-wide booster club, as opposed to having the teams that are raising money for their sports. We could do that district-wide and have private donations to offset some of our general expenditure funds.
Okay, thank you, Scott. We're going to start back over here at Kaylee with our next set of questions. And again, thank you to the candidates for being here tonight and for staying on the schedule. We appreciate that. Hopefully you knew this already. If you didn't know this, April is Month of the Military Child. As we are wrapping up this month, how would you, as a board member, show your support for the base schools and for the many families and children that are in our schools throughout the district as a result of being here with the Minot Air Force Base?
I would show support by showing support for the schools that are currently at the base. Right now, we're talking about 2 schools closing in town and kids having to switch schools, after being with their friends for a couple of years. Our military kids go through that every day. So understanding where they're coming from, helping make sure that we have the support in place, because their lives vary from what we're used to. They deal with parents that aren't always around, with changing schedules and living different places all of the time. So making sure we have the resources in place to assist them where they need it, that's how I would support them.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. John, same question. How would you as a board member show your support for the base schools and for the many families and children that are in our schools throughout the district as a result of being at the Minot Air Force Base?
So being stationed at Minot Air Force Base, my wife and I, we were not blessed with children, but of course we had a lot of military members who had children. And one of the things, the common theme that I got from them was they didn't really feel the inclusiveness in Minot Public Schools. And granted, we had one school at the time, and it was one of those things where they would go to the school. It didn't seem like they kind of just meshed in with a group of other kids. They didn't really get a lot of opportunities, whether it be in sports. And it was a frustrating thing for some of the parents that I talked to. I think building Minot North is a step in the right direction. I think that is not only helping the district, it's helping them. It gives them sort of a connection to something that's theirs. It gives them a good feeling, continuity. So I think the things that we're doing now really, especially with the new school, is the best way to reconnect with base children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Mike Gessner, same question.
I agree wholeheartedly with the previous response, that part of that north, part of the Sentinels that we have, the name, the north, going along with knowing that we have the Minot Air Force Base students that are going to be coming there, and of course the parents that are there and that are on duty. Just to acknowledge, my first 2 years I taught at Memorial, and it was an experience for me also. And I valued the time that I had there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question?
I love this question. It's not something, I guess, I can honestly say that I am prepared to answer, but I do like the previous answers. The Minot Air Force Base is obviously a very, very important part of our community, and I think we need to support the Air Force Base and the people that live there and serve our country as much as we can. I love the idea of trying to build more connections with them. It would be great if we could have maybe, especially elementary and middle school, maybe have, more events together, things like that. I mean, they just bring a lot of really great things to the table. Lost my train of thought here. But anyway, yeah, I would just like to see a better connection, more connection there. Our students do participate in Starbase in the 5th grade. I don't know how many people are familiar with that, but it used to be a week-long thing. Now they've broken it up into, you go 5 times over the course of a couple weeks. So my 3 oldest children have participated in that, and they've had a great time. That's run through the Air Force Base, and so they get to go up there, they spend the day, they do all kinds of STEM activities. They end the week with a race car competition, a little CO2 car competition. And so I think if we could do more things like that, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott Lauser.
Timely question. We just had the Nuclear Triad Symposium in Minot from people from all across the country in Minot this week. 6 months to put that together. I want to thank the Chamber for doing that. And what role were we able to play? I invited and made arrangements to have the budget section from the legislature attend and be in Minot during that event. You mentioned the event up at the base. The Adjutant General was there. This is about 3 weeks ago. The Adjutant General, the Lieutenant Governor, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, our Superintendent, Dr. Vollmer, Base Commander, all got up and said a few words about the importance of the education system and the tie that we have with the Air Force Base. The opening of Minot North is going to be crucial. Almost everybody that is related to the base that's not living in town in the south half of town is going to be going to that school. During the discussion with the school board, I suggested that the colors be blue and silver to mirror what is Air Force colors. I appreciate the best decision, naming them the Sentinels. I think it's fantastic. I think there's only one other school in the United States that has Sentinels as a nickname. But we are making that tie at every opportunity that we get now. But to sit and listen to and have that reminder of what those kids go through if they have to move 3 or 4 or 5 times before they're in high school. That's a difficult reminder, and it's incumbent on the adults in the room to make them feel welcome when they come to Minot.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek, finish us off on this question, please.
I think the new high school is going to be great for the Air Base and the kids that go out there. But I don't think if I'm on the board or if I'm not on the board, it really changes any of that. I think we have to support all the kids in the community. And the best way we can do that is by just giving of our time and being involved with them. I've been lucky that I've volunteer coached at the YMCA, and we've had kids from the base, we've had kids from all the schools, and all the kids get treated the same. You give them your time and you encourage them.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Well, let's start with a new question. John, we get to start with you on this one. So at the Minot Area Chamber EDC, thanks to more than 100 volunteers, we offer a program called Junior Achievement. It's a program that's throughout the Minot elementary schools. What other programs or efforts can the community use to strengthen ties between our business community and the public schools?
I think any program that promotes technology, that promotes IT and that promotes robotics, any program like that, I think, because that's the future. I think that, if the Minot businesses could get the kids involved in that or support that, I think it's an area where they'll really soar, because I think it's an area they're really interested in. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Mike, same question. What other programs or efforts can we use to strengthen ties between the business community and the public schools?
We currently have our programs where we have, it's CTE courses. we need to make sure that all of our students have an opportunity to get through those. I cited this as an example in a prior meeting. I had a student that had her mind made up, I am going to be a doctor, or she was going to be a nurse, one of those two things, and had decided, she had all of her prep work done, she went to school, finally got into a hospital, and found out she didn't like that experience. So I think besides, the IT part, yes, we need to do that, but we need to keep current with our CTE, even have more courses that involve what's out there for the work environment for our students so they can get a feel for what they would like to do to the future.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question.
So you mentioned junior achievement. That's primarily elementary ages. Listening to some of these other answers, what comes to mind is that I would love to see kind of a mentorship program with our high school students, going into the, CTE courses. So there's, medical field, construction, biomed. I can't even remember. I saw my son's, class registration list, and I was blown away at the options that are out there for these kids. But I think a mentorship program would be a good start. It'd be a great way for our, young kids to see what it's like, to be a nurse, or to be a dentist, or to work in construction, or, do things like that. More shadowing. I know that they already do some shadowing in some of these classes, but yeah, my idea would be some kind of a mentorship program.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott?
Allison Auk recently won, I think it was a Distinguished Woman of the Year award for her work on the STEM program, and she's doing t-ball and kickball and summer theater and robotics. We don't have enough of the promotion within our school districts for those kids to take robotics. And we had a couple teams in Minot qualify. It's a big thing at Bishop Ryan. There's not a lot of kids in the Minot Public Schools doing it. We could open up a little bit more partnership with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We aren't doing anything with Boys Club or Girls Club of America. My organization, and Lacey, that belongs to the National Association of Realtors, has a program that has realtors going into the classroom and talk about finance to kids. That's at the high school level. There's a lot of partnerships that we could be making. They're out there. We just have to recognize when they're happening. Maybe our kids are involved, and it takes 5 kids to bring 10 in and 10 to bring 20. And that's how I learned about robotics. My 11-year-old was part of a state qualifying robotics team, and my 9-year-old wants to join. She wasn't old enough. But she's going to gather a group of girls that are going to want to get into robotics, something that wasn't on my radar 6 months ago.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek, same question. What other programs or efforts can we use as a community to strengthen ties between the business community and the public schools?
I think the CTE program is great. I think we can go out and continue to engage as many businesses as possible in the community to get the kids exposure to whatever interests them or might interest them. They probably don't know. And this comes at little to no cost to the school. I think we just have to continue to build on that.
Okay, thank you. Kaylee, finish us off on this question, please.
Thank you. So I would continue to partner with local businesses in order to get our kids into those businesses to do some job shadowing. I agree with the CTE courses. We need to start introducing those at a younger age. And I also think we need to get the professionals into our buildings to start giving advice and mentoring the kids who are interested in, pursuing those kinds of careers. And I'd be interested in doing some type of internships during school hours where they can get out and work and really experience, what life after graduation looks like. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're doing well on time. I've got another 4 or 5 questions to ask here, and I think we probably will be aiming to get done about 5:30 still. This next question goes to Mike Gessner first. Mike, what specifically will you do, or will you ask the board to do, to increase public engagement?
I think it starts right with the board. Our board, since I've been the president, and maybe it is my fault, has not been very vocal. There's some of you come. We need to bounce things off. We need to have the conversation, say say most whatever is in your head. I won't say everything that's in your head, but say most everything that's in your head. Let's get it out there. If you have a question, let's hear about it. I come up and very often, sometimes it's taken me a lot of years to get to this point, but if I have a question in my head, I've got to have it answered, because otherwise I can't take my thought process and get beyond that point. So I think we need to have more of an open dialogue in our meetings. We need people to ask some questions of our administration. Why can't we do some things? Why can we do this? And so on, so that we all understand, not just us at the board, but everyone in the community. So, yes, we need to be more open.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question. What specifically will you do or will you ask the board to do to increase public engagement?
100% more open dialogue. We need to be having the conversations. They might not always be easy. We need to be approachable, ask questions, try to get people to engage more. For the last 2 months straight, that's all I've been doing is asking questions. There are people in this room that can attest to that. I bet I've asked over 100 questions of people all throughout the district, parents, principals, teachers, administration. We have to actively seek engagement. Obviously, people aren't automatically just showing up, otherwise we'd have, a crowded room and people waiting to get in. So I feel like we have to actively seek the engagement, the participation. We have to ask the questions, we need to listen to the answers. But just without question, we need more active engagement.
Okay, thank you. Scott, you're next.
Well, there's about 50 people in the room. I don't know how many are watching online. I'm going to guess between 50 and 100 in a community of 50,000 people. We can only try to inspire on issues and as candidates to get people to be engaged. It's disappointing that we don't have that kind of engagement, but it's the world that we're living in. The McKinley and the Bell experiences, it felt to me like what we could do a couple things different. A positive was a lot of people showed up. There was an issue at hand, obviously, but a lot of people showed up. Why not hold school board meetings in elementary schools as opposed to at the board office or at Central Campus? Or at least do forums where we do a 10-minute update on the board and then have an hour where people can speak. It sounds like they're going to try that in the city council in Fargo, possibly. I think having a social media presence of the board members, not just the board, but telling people the meeting is at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever we decide on Tuesday night. Here's the agenda. We'd like your participation. We're not doing that. Board members aren't doing it, but the public has to respond. If the board takes those actions and the public doesn't respond, we're going to continue seeing this every 2 years. We're going to talk about communication. We have to make some changes, and then the public has to respond.
Okay, Derek, same question. What specifically will you do or will you ask the board to do to increase public engagement?
I think we've addressed that. We got to change the time of the meetings. We have to provide opportunities where it's a less intimidating format to have discussions and give people the opportunity to speak. The other thing that I would do specifically would be, as a board member, I would go out into the schools during the school day to engage with the teachers and the students and the staff in their environment. You're going to get honest feedback, you're going to get honest questions, and it also shows that you care, because you're going to take time out of your day to go see what they're doing and learn from them and talk to them.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee?
I would seek out and be proactive about getting engagement from our community. We need to know the needs and thoughts of the people. We also need to have a personal responsibility to listen to all perspectives and respond. So if you're getting phone calls, if you're getting emails, even if you can't fix something, even if you can't promise something, just saying, hey, I heard that, thank you, does a lot for our community. I agree. Outside of board meetings, I think we could maybe implement some type of quarterly or bi-monthly public forum for community members to come. I'd like that to be at our local elementary schools and rotate it on a, quarterly or bi-monthly basis. That way, the community can come and tell you what is important to them, and they don't have to come and just talk about, an issue at hand. Really, we need to be engaging in open dialogue in our everyday life, because that's how we're going to get most of that information. People, are intimidated standing up, signing in, talking in front of the board and an audience. So making sure that you're available and open to talk with people at all times, especially when you're out in the community. And I've done that in my campaign. I've done meet and greets. I've gotten out, letting people know, hey, I'm here, come talk to me about what's important to you. That gets people out. Thank you.
Okay, and John Kerry, finish us off, please.
So I'm going to speak to this from the perspective of somebody who was not engaged. I was not tracking anything the school board was doing. I didn't have kids in Minot Public School. My wife works for Minot Public School. And I didn't feel like no matter what I said, no matter what I did, it wasn't going to matter. The school board was going to do what the school board was going to do, and it wasn't going to matter. I think we have to change that. We have to be engaging. I agree with almost everything the folks up here are saying. I really do. But I'll be honest with you, and I'm being brutally honest. I could have cared less what was going on with Minot Public Schools because I wasn't engaged. The closing of Bell and McKinley and watching the parents and watching the teachers engaged me. And that wasn't necessarily for the right reason to be engaged, but I think the school board needs to do a better job of, I don't care if it's, advertising, if it's getting out there in some way, shooting out there in some way, they need to do a better job in letting the public know, the stakeholders know, that we're going to listen to you. We might not do what you always want, but we're going to listen to you and we're going to establish dialogue with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. A new question on this one. We'll start with Lacey. This one comes from the audience. How do you plan to stay informed on the latest developments and best practices in education and board governance? How do you plan to stay informed on the latest developments and best practices in education and board governance?
A couple things. I think that staying engaged, keeping a connection with what's going on in the different schools, talking to the principals, talking to the teachers, just having that connection on the ground level in terms of best practices. I mean, we have to trust our professionals. Okay, we have phenomenal educators and phenomenal administration. We have to trust them. We need to keep in touch with them. In terms of school board best practices, there is a school board training that the state provides that we have yet to participate in. And number one, if elected, I would strongly urge our school board to participate in that. I think that's important. That's been available now for, I think, 3 years. Just kind of keeping everybody up to speed on, current trends, issues, things like that in terms of school board governance.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott, same question.
Before this campaign started, Lacey and Derek and I met down at the board office to go over the budget. And none of us had announced we were running. We were all thinking about it. And they gave us 2.5 hours. And that was just the beginning. We're learning not only about the financing, but the operation of the schools. Visiting the schools in this campaign makes a difference. I've requested, and I will hopefully make it to all of them by the middle of May. And every principal has given me all the time that I've asked for. I tell them maybe 15, 20 minutes, it goes an hour. I'm trying to be respectful of their time, but there's a lot to learn. The School Board Association at the state, as Lacey had mentioned, we should participate there. There's a little changeover going on right now in their leadership at the School Board Association, NDCEL. which is the organization for principals, administrators, secondary and elementary. A lot of information, best practices, ranging from what's happening in other markets, other school districts, to how to handle a meeting. The School Board Association is the first place to turn in North Dakota.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek, same question.
Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, for sure. How do you plan to stay informed on the latest developments and best practices in education and board governance?
I would agree with what Lacey said. If I was elected, I would definitely want to participate in the school board training. As far as best practices of education and being an educator, I don't think by getting elected to the school board, I'm going to become a professional educator. That's not my plan anyhow. My plan would be to rely on the people that are the professional educators in Minot, because their feedback is going to be what's important. And since I've started this, I've also met with a number of teachers and administrators and school staff that I didn't know prior to this, and I wasn't friends with, because I wanted to get their feedback. And it's been great. The people have been very giving of their time and very open to sharing what they'd like to see changed and providing me with information. So I would continue to do that.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee?
As a continuous learner, it always has me striving to learn more and stay ahead of the curve. I'd find out what the school board, what the district uses to stay ahead of those best practices so that we can continuously take in that information and understand it. We need to continue to ask for communication and keep asking for suggestions on best practices and find the research to see what's backed up and what's not, to see what we can implement. And I also agree that we need to continue to do the North Dakota School Board Association training, not just once. You can't get elected and go through one training and all of a sudden have all the information that you need for the rest of your term or terms. So making sure that we have some sort of continuous plan in place for school board members to stay up to date on all that information is very important to me.
Okay, John Kerry, same question. For sure. How do you plan to stay informed on the latest developments and best practices in education and board governance?
Well, I agree with most of my fellow candidates here. I think the School Board Association and training is the best way to do it. At my own employment, we have to try to stay ahead of, what are the best tech things coming out, what are the best solutions. And there I have a lot of sites I can go to that will aid me. I also believe that visiting schools on a daily, not a daily, but at least on a monthly basis is a thing that you can get behind. Other than that, most of my fellow candidates here covered everything.
Okay, thank you. Mike Gessner, finish us off, please.
I agree that we need this school board's training. I am signed up for that in the near future. But for us to go in to watch, unless we are a trained professional, a teacher, a guidance counselor, a whatever, for us to go in and say they're doing it right or not doing it right, maybe we're just there to listen, but we should not take from there, because that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility as a board member the administration will come to us, we'll develop an agenda, and we will work from there. We will follow what they have to. But if we're going to walk around and be able to walk in and to tell me that I'm teaching my calculus class right or not teaching it right, that's what we're going to do. I think we're doing the wrong thing. We're going to be wasting our time on 400 and some teachers and a couple hundred administrators. We're going to be in there and watching and telling that they're doing the right thing. No, we'd be wasting our time. We need to support our administration that we have. We need to support our teachers and our employees. Yes, we need to be somewhat cognizant of what's going on there, but to observe and for us to evaluate, unless we've been there, we don't know for sure, and we're not up to date on our trends that are going on. I suggest that we not do a lot of that being in the classroom.
Okay, thank you, Mike. The next question, we'll start with Scott on this one. What makes you different from all the other members on the board currently and from your fellow candidates here at the table? What makes you different?
Well, I took calculus, and I can promise I'm not going to go back in the classroom and say how it's done. I don't remember. My experience in the legislature, I think, makes me different. It's an obvious answer, but it's a 80 days every 2 years commitment in Bismarck. Every other week, I drive back and forth to Minot to be with my girls. That means getting up at sometimes 4:30 in the morning and heading down back to Bismarck when it's 20 below on icy roads to make my commitments in Bismarck and then back to Minot. The involvement with Minot High North and the continued advocacy for Minot, including a couple bills that had to be introduced to address the inflationary costs that we experienced after that bond issue passed, got me extremely involved in education, not just in finance, but paying attention to curriculum, recognizing how many bills go through the legislature and having to weigh, is this a benefit to the kids in our school district? In particular, does it benefit Minot? I was vocal and voted against the virtual high school district that was created that would allow for homeschoolers in some cases to enroll in a virtual school, high school in North Dakota. There weren't enough questions asked of that. That was primarily funded out of state, and we passed that bill without enough questions being asked. And after 6 sessions in the legislature, I think that provides me a unique perspective on having to ask questions, having to hear all sides, and having to make difficult decisions that not everybody's going to like, and then accepting the results of those decisions.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Derek Trudell, same question. What makes you different from all of the other members on the school board currently and on here, your fellow candidates?
We all have different backgrounds. My difference is my experience in the government. I've had some very unique jobs that have given me a lot of good experience. With the Secret Service, I've had to deal with a lot of strong personalities and differing agendas, similar to what you'll deal with in the school board. And you have to make decisions very quickly, and you have to try to make them in the most efficient and safe manner, and also recognizing that there's always a risk to the decisions you're making. As an investigator, I've dealt with a lot of crimes against children, so I understand the threats our kids are up against. I understand the thought that these people have that are trying to target our kids. That's a perspective that I don't think that anybody else will be able to offer.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee, same question.
So we're always saying that younger people need to get engaged. So when you're talking of, I'm a little bit younger than most board members that are on here or have been on the board in the past, but it's really difficult for young people to be able to do that. They're working full-time, they're parenting full-time, or doing a combination of both, and so it's just not reality to add another responsibility to their plate. I have that rare opportunity where I have the support to be able to do this. Again, I share many of the same traits that our families in the district have. We have full-time working parents who go to work 8 to 5, and we have to figure out, are they getting the resources at school? Is there transportation? What does after school look like? How can we engage with the teachers to make sure our kids are on the right path? Just because I am younger, I do work well with people who I can't have all of the knowledge and expertise, so I work really well with those who do in order to implement things in modern ways so that the system doesn't just work for a few of us, but it works for all of us. Lastly, the lens that I would bring to the school board is my children are just about to enter Minot Public Schools, and I do have a child who will be on an IEP during their first years of school. So I see that process from the beginning, enrollment, setting those things up with the teachers so that they can have success, in the future. So because I see that process in the beginning, I can help improve it or build upon it so that it's, satisfactory for all parents. Thank you.
Okay, John Kerry, same question. What makes you different from all the other members of the board currently and your fellow candidates?
What makes me different is I have ties to the military. I still do to this day. I'm 23 years Air Force, retired. I go out there every day. I work with some of the finest people, military families. I understand a lot of their concerns. I think that kind of separates me from the current school board and the candidates up here. I think that I can bring their perspective to the school board. Thank you.
Okay, Mike Gessner, same question.
What makes me different? We won't ask my wife that, but what makes me different is I've been in the education world for many years. As I've said before, I've been involved in school improvement. We can, if we work together, make change. And since COVID, hopefully we're getting back on track. We're getting everybody up to groove, up to speed. I would ask that, part of my last part of my spiel today is that I want parents to make sure that their students, their children get to school every day. We can teach them if they're there. But what happens with children that are not there every day is they get a little anxiety. And when that anxiety starts to grow, then it's hard for our business to educate those children. So we need them there every day. So moms and dads, please get them every day possible. And then later on, I'll give you a little spiel what I think about the cell phone and our children. It's a nice, safe thing, but it's another discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Lacey, finish us off on this question, please.
Like I said before, I have 4 children in the district, 2 at Jim Hill and 2 at Washington. And from a parent standpoint, my commitment to my own kids is the sky's the limit. I mean, it has no end. I would have that same commitment to the other 7,500 kids in the district. I'm relentless. I want Minot to be the premier district in the state. And I will not stop. I will dig and dig and dig some more and ask more questions. And I will not stop until we are there. And I think that's just one of the things that sets me apart is my competitive spirit. I have thoroughly enjoyed the process, getting to have conversations, getting to be in the schools, talking to students. I had a couple of kids from Roosevelt give me a tour of their school, and they loved it. I asked them, I said, what do you love about Roosevelt? Everything. And I said, is there anything you don't like? No. So I've had the best time engaging with people that don't have kids in the district. I've had the best time engaging with people who do, teachers, students, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, thank you. We're down to one final question, and then we'll do 1 minute for final comments. So Derek, we'll start with you on this question. Understanding, of course, that long-range planning is a key task for any governing board, what would you like to see as part of Minot Public Schools' 5, 10, or 15-year long-range plan?
I think the 5-year, 10-year long-range plan is we have to balance the budget. We have to stop the deficit spending. And I know that there's been some talk about doing a levy for a building fund. I do think we need that, but I don't think that we need it now. I think that that's kind of a very presumptuous ask of the public to do that. I think that the new board has to prove that they can be responsible with the money, that we can get the budget under control, and then once we've earned that trust in 5 years, then we can go and we can look at maybe getting a building fund.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Kaylee, same question.
Long-term planning is to have increased enrollment, being the district of choice, making sure that the families that are in Minot choose Minot Public Schools to send their kids to over private schools or homeschooling. I agree that we also need to balance the budget, but that's not going to happen overnight. But balancing it is going to help make sure that we don't have to make other significant cuts down the road and that we can focus our dollars into hiring qualified teachers and having relevant coursework and keeping our buildings up to date and accessible for all of our children. I also think, like I've said in the past, a communications director is something that's needed at the district, both internally and externally, to communicate within teachers, to communicate with parents and the public. Transportation is always a huge issue for parents, so I'd like to see us really working towards the direction of making sure that we can have a busing system. And I do agree with the building fund. Our schools are older. We have Roosevelt, that's 100 years old. Our schools are 50, 70 years old. And if we don't have a building fund in place down the road, when those schools start deteriorating, guess what? Those funds are coming from the general fund, and if we have a couple emergencies, we can wipe out that general fund pretty quickly, which means we don't have the funds to keep paying teachers, a competitive salary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. John Kerry, same question. Knowing that long-range planning is a key task for a governing board, what would you like to see as part of the Minot Public School 5, 10, or 15-year long-range plan?
I think the first thing we have to do is we have to build a relationship and trust back with the average citizen, the taxpayer. I agree with that. We need to renovate older buildings because there are some buildings out there that really need some love. We need to make sure, of course, my number one priority is getting the budget balanced, because without a balanced budget, and like I said early in the night, that $14.6 million, it's stunning. It's just, wow. If we don't do that, none of our educational goals will be met in this district. And we could look at losing staff, having to cut staff, slashing more things. And the last thing is to make sure teachers are paid what they're worth. I am a federal employee, and I got a 4.7% raise last year to keep up with the cost of living. In 2022, I got a 4.3% raise. I don't think the teachers in this district got that kind of raise. So those are things I would do. Thank you.
Okay, Mike Gessner, same question.
I would agree that once we get our first school at Hoven paid off in 10 years, that we should, before that, start asking for a building fund levy, because our buildings, yes, they are old, and some of them, and they're going to need some refurbishing. As far as increases, we're talking about, we have a liability, and then we're going to give pay increases. Well, those don't work together very well. And so, yes, we need to continue to get our deficit spending down. I think we are doing a good job at this. We're getting there. I think the board will make some more decisions on that fact. As far as pay increases, I want to acknowledge that we gave almost a 2% raise increase in pay. We are paying another 2% increase in of their TFFR payment. We're going to pay another 2% beyond. And then for all of the people that can move down in our payroll schedule and across, there's some more growth in there. So we gave an increase that will be in that 5 to 5.5% for our people that can move. Now, yes, we've had teachers teaching for 30-some years since we're going from rule of 85 to rule of 90. Some of those won't be advancing. Our superintendent has worked hard to allow to get teachers to move over on our salary schedule. By moving over, you earn more credits, thus they're going to get paid more. But in the long run, of course, that helps us and it hurts us. I did allude to this a little earlier. Now that we've got them for another 5 years, and so we're not have that big concern about.
Let's wrap up. You're up 2 minutes.
We have the big concern about losing hiring staff right now. But yes, to balance the budget and give pay raises, those two things don't go together very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Lacey, same question on what would you like to see as part of the Minot Public School 5, 10, or 15-year long-range plan?
Short-term goals, better communication, open, honest, transparent, consistent, all across the board. I would love to see us get our new middle school and high school off the ground, have support for the staff and the teachers there. I would like to see us chip away at the budget. And touching on the teachers and staff, district-wide, I would really like to see us better supporting our teachers. I would like to see us better support our paras. Maybe we find creative ways to get our paras up to full-time. Right now, you know, we use the hours kind of against them. You know, if they don't hit their 40 hours, we don't need to pay them benefits. We're short on bus drivers in the district. Well, I was visiting with an administrator from a local school district, and he said, we've paid our paras to get their bus licenses. So we've kind of killed two birds with one stone. We're supporting our paras. They're reaching their hours. They're getting benefits, and we're kind of satisfying our bus driver issue. So short term, maybe we get creative on ways to support some of our staff. Long term, I would also like to see us prioritize a building fund. I do think that's something that's been missing. I was looking at the DPI website here the other day, and we're actually one of the few non-reservation school districts in the state that does not have a building fund. I think there were maybe only 3 or 4 others that don't.
Please
So
wrap up. You're at 2 minutes.
Yes. Also, long-term, I would like to see us be more responsible with taxpayer dollars. And I think Kaylee also touched on this. I want to see us be the premier go-to school, not even in the area. I want us to be the premier in the state.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Scott, finish us off, please.
We started talking about goals initially, and I brought up test scores. I had an experience at John Hoven last week when I did my visit with the reigning principal of the year, by the way, Principal Alstead. We didn't even meet in the office. We went right in the lobby, and on the wall where everybody can see, students, teachers, parents, was their goals for reading and math and their intent to increase proficiency by 3 points. And they were at 88% on math. It's very hard to go from 88 to 91. That's where we started our visit. We did the building tour, and that's where we ended. Never even stepped in the office. Maybe the other schools could learn from that. It's a positive that I'm seeing that's working, because that's the goal in that school, is to increase test scores. I'd like to see property tax reform, not just relief. I talked before about the 60 mills. I am going to push hard on that. I've been going around the state talking about that for a number of months now. That alleviates the tax burden on the taxpayer here. The building fund we could address, but there's another opportunity at the state, and we could bond against the Common Schools Trust Fund for building projects in the state at 2% as opposed to the 5 and 6% rates that we're paying now. It would also allow us, if we had that fund, to, when our bonds are callable, to be able to refinance those bonds at a lower rate and save on some taxes. And finally, something, if it's a wish list, every state competition, I'd love to see Minot High versus Minot North for the state championship.
Okay, thank you, Scott. We are going to wrap up at this point. This is the 12 questions that we've got ready for you today. We are going to do closing statements here in just a minute, and we're going to go the opposite direction. So Derek, you'll end up going first, and we'll go down. But I do want to thank everyone who has been able to be here today, everyone who's joined us online. We appreciate that you've been a part of these 3 forums that we've done. If you missed any of them, they are available on Facebook. They were all recorded there. I would remind everyone to please go vote. That's June 11th. As I understand it, it's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you can't vote on that day, I know you can approach Ward County and get a ballot ahead of time. So we'll go ahead and give you each 1 minute for your closing statements. And Derek, we start with you first.
I won't have all the answers to every issue that's presented to the new school board. I'm confident as I learn more about the dynamics of what it takes to operate a school, my position, my opinions are going to change, and they should, because I'm going to become more educated. To make sound, informed decisions, you need the context and perspective of those directly involved. Only a closed-minded, opinionated fool, no offense to opinionated fools, but they're not going to know more than our teachers and our administrators. We should listen to them. The outstanding workforce of our Minot Public Schools is really built on the backs of the staff. And I look forward to getting elected and working with them as a team to continue to promote a good environment and a good education and school system in Minot.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Scott?
Well, to Kaylee and John and Mike and Bill and Lacey and Derek, I want to thank them for getting in the race. Public service isn't easy. And my experience tells me it's getting more difficult by the year. Elected officials can never make everyone happy all the time, and we're always going to make somebody upset at a decision that we were elected to make. I believe I have the combination of experience, passion, and critical listening and thinking skills to serve this board at a crucial time. I'm in the process of visiting every school, as we talked before. I'm hoping to have that completed in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm doing a video series called What I Learned in School Today after each visit. You're going to be hard-pressed in Minot to find anybody in this community that promotes this community more than I do, whether it's in my business of selling the community of Minot in real estate, whether it's advocating for Minot in the legislature, volunteering in youth activities, and now running for the school board. Everything in my campaign revolves around the theme, Louser for Minot. Social media, the website, louserforminot.com, the hashtags, the yard signs, everything revolves around Minot. I want to thank the EDC for this forum, and as I said at the opening, my candidacy begins and ends with my children. I want to thank my son Garrett from a distance while he's at Arizona State, and my daughters Cameron and Kendall for their love and support. And I ask the voters for their support in June. You had mentioned about voting in June. We have 2 vote centers in Minot. They'll be at the auditorium and the Ward County building, and then 5 other vote centers in the smaller communities surrounding Minot. And again, I ask for their consideration and their vote in June.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Lacey?
You guys cannot see what I have in my notebook, my campaign notebook. But earlier today, I was sitting by my computer and thinking about some of this stuff, and I decided to write a list of pros and cons, how I feel about the district. And I'm so happy to tell you that my pros far exceed the cons. I love the direction that the district is going. I love that we have a second 9 through 12, well, first of all, I love that we have 9 through 12 high school. I especially love that we have 2 of them. I love that we have a 3rd middle school. I love that every elementary school that I've been in so far, the kids are so happy and so genuinely happy to be in school. They love their teachers, they love their principal, and I think that is just a testament to what we have going on in our district. So many great things. We have the programs, we have the teachers, we have the staff, we have the administration, we have the class offerings. We have all of the foundation to be the absolute best. I think it's just maybe we need to rethink some of the ways that we're doing things, some of our systems, some of our processes. I think that is getting in the way of us being the best. I will not stop if elected. And actually, if I'm not elected, I won't stop. I mean, I'm so far into this at this point that I will stay so deeply connected. But it's just my personality. I will do my best for all of you, for the kids, for the community. And that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you, Lacey. Mike Gessner, you're next.
I have this statement that I didn't get a chance to read, so I'm going to read it here. Moms, dads, grandparents, caregivers, get your children to school every day. That's possible. If they're sick, yes, have them stay home. Going on vacation, wait until we have a break. If we have your child, we can teach them. And as been alluded and will be alluded by each board candidate here, we have a good district, and we're going to get better. If we have your child, we can teach them. If they're here in school, they can learn. A thought from Hernandez, 2012. Children who do not read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade are 4 times more likely to leave school without a diploma than proficient readers. Get your children here every day that you possibly can. Also, something I tried to pass along. Instill in my students was this saying, wherever you're at, be all there. Students need to come to school with the intent of gaining some knowledge each day and working towards mastery. If they are all there implying that their schoolwork that's assigned, they're done with it, their use of their cell phone is appropriately, they put it away during class, they use it if they need to make a contact afterwards. How are they going to learn if they're not all here? Do the work that is assigned, ask questions, no matter how insignificant they might be. If it's there in your head, it needs to be answered. If we need you all here. And I will make my best effort to be all here engaged and engaging our board more yet. Thank you for the process.
Okay, thank you, Mike. John Kerry, please.
I'll tell you that I'm not necessarily comfortable in this environment. In my job every day, I'm a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. I analyze data. If there's a problem with the data, I propose solutions. And I work with many team members from across the country and find compromise. And I feel like I could bring that to the board. I go to work every day like every average taxpayer. I pay my taxes. I love what I do. My time sometimes is the day fills up so quick you don't know where it's going to go. But I will tell you this. I'm good at what I do at my job because I'm committed. And I feel like I would be good at this job because I will commit myself 100%. I love this community, and I love this school district, and I love the kids in this school district. And I have a great deal of respect for the teachers and administrators in this school district. And my wife of 31 years is the love of my life. And if in the end, I don't get elected, it's okay. I got her, and I got my work, and I got my job. But like Lacey said, I am now engaged. I am definitely engaged. So thank you, and God bless.
Okay, thank you, John. And Kaylee, please finish us.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. And thank you for all of the questions from people in the audience, from the people online. It really shows how engaged of a community we are and that we really want what's best for our children. I strongly believe in the importance of public schools, and I strongly believe in the teachers and staff who carry out the visions of the district each and every day. I encourage parent involvement and would like to continue to build strong community relationships because that's how we make real impactful change. I aim to have a seat at the table. I bring a mindset of collaboration, practicality, and transparency, and I plan to put my head down and work hard towards the betterment of our students. Earlier, when I said that I have that rare opportunity to be civically engaged at this point in my life, I owe that all to my family. I can't thank them enough. If you're watching and you want to get in touch, please reach out to me on Facebook, email, phone. Let's go grab coffee because I want to be here to talk about what's important to all of you, and I hope to earn your vote on June 11th. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. Thank you to all the candidates. Thank you for everyone being here in person and for joining us online. And go vote on June 11th, and have a good night.